The moment I saw Julianne gasping for air in the center of the deep end, her fingers frantically clawing at the churning water, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces because I realized I was looking at the exact same desperate terror that had taken my little brother's life 3 years ago. The world went silent around me as the sight of her sinking tore open every buried wound, bringing back the overwhelming grief I thought I had finally put to rest. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a second to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, pass this story along to someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel to join our growing community of compassionate hearts. My name is Marcus, and for 3 long years, I lived as a ghost inside my own skin. Ever since the tragic accident at the lake that took my younger brother, water had ceased to be a source of life and became a monster that haunted my nightmares. I stepped away from my career as a competitive swimmer, cut ties with almost everyone I knew, and retreated into a quiet, solitary existence working as a landscape designer in our suburban town. The heaviest casualty of my grief, however, was my relationship with Clara. We had been together for 4 years, but the shadow of my trauma eventually pulled us apart. I couldn't be the partner she deserved while I was drowning in my own guilt, so we ended things. For months, the only connection I maintained with that chapter of my life was an occasional text from Clara's younger sister, Julianne, a soft-spoken 19-year-old college student who had always looked up to me like an elder brother. The bright summer sun was blazing overhead when Julianne called me out of the blue on a Tuesday morning. Her voice sounded hesitant, trembling with a vulnerability that immediately caught my attention. She confessed that she had registered for a mandatory physical education credit at her university that required passing a basic swimming assessment, but a severe childhood fear of deep water had kept her terrified of even stepping onto the pool deck. Clara was out of town for work, and Julianne had no one else to turn to, knowing that despite my past, I was once the most skilled swimmer she knew. The thought of stepping near a swimming pool sent a cold spike of anxiety through my chest, but hearing the genuine panic in Julianne's voice silenced my hesitation. I could not turn my back on someone reaching out for help. We agreed to meet an hour later at the private neighborhood pool near her home, bathed in the blinding brilliance of the midday sun. When I arrived, the sun reflected off the crystalline surface of the water, making it shimmer like melted glass. Julianne was standing near the shallow edge, wrapped tightly in a towel, her knuckles white as she gripped the fabric. I gave her a warm, reassuring smile, hiding the deep knot of apprehension twisting in my stomach. I began slowly, keeping everything grounded in comfort and safety. We spent the first 30 minutes sitting on the sun-warmed ledge, dipping our feet into the water, practicing deep breathing, and discussing how buoyancy works. Slowly, Julianne began to trust the water, stepping down into the 3-foot shallow end. Her laughter began to break through the anxiety, and for the first time in years, standing by a pool felt less like an ordeal and more like a path toward healing. I guided her through basic floats and gliding, celebrating every tiny triumph under the warm sunshine. As the afternoon wore on, Julianne felt a surge of newfound confidence and wanted to try swimming across the width of the pool where the slope gradually dropped into the 8-foot deep end. I walked alongside her from the deck, offering words of encouragement as she kicked effortlessly through the shallow section. But as the floor gave way beneath her and the water turned a darker, richer blue, panic struck without warning. Julianne stopped kicking, lost her rhythm, and sank below the surface. When she resurfaced, her eyes were wide with blind terror. She reached out, realized her feet could no longer touch the bottom, and began to swallow water. Without a second thought, I dived into the pool, cutting through the warm water in a single fluid motion. The instant I surfaced beside her, Julianne lunged forward in pure panic, wrapping her arms tightly around my neck and locking her legs around my waist, clinging to me as if I were the only solid object in an oceanic abyss. The sudden weight pulled us both under for a split second, and in that fleeting, submerged darkness, the memory of my brother tried to drag me into despair. But as our heads broke the surface into the bright afternoon sunlight, I looked into Julianne's terrified eyes and anchored myself in the present moment. I cradled her securely, holding her high above the water, feeling her chest heave against mine as she sobbed into my shoulder. I spoke to her in a low, calm voice, repeating soft promises that she was safe, that I had her, and that I would never let her sink. For several long minutes, we stayed suspended in the deep end, her body trembling violently against mine, bonded by a shared raw vulnerability. Slowly, as the warmth of the sun beat down on us and the steady rhythm of my breathing calmed her racing heart, Julianne's grip began to soften. She looked up at me, her eyes wet with tears, realizing that even in the deepest water, she hadn't drowned because someone was there to hold her up. In that quiet, powerful moment, a heavy burden lifted from my own heart. I realized that while I couldn't save my brother, I had saved Julianne, breaking the curse of guilt that had frozen my life for years. We slowly swam back to the shallow end, holding hands, both transformed by what had just transpired. As we sat on the edge of the pool drying off under the afternoon sun, Julianne thanked me with a deep, emotional hug, telling me that I hadn't just given her a swim lesson, but had given her back her courage. Walking away from the pool that day, I felt the warmth of the sun on my skin not as a reminder of what was lost, but as a promise of a new beginning. Before we reach the end of this journey, please take a moment to leave a meaningful comment below sharing a time when you had to overcome a deep fear, or how forgiveness helped you heal your past. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey.